Hello, I'm Ethan, and I'm going to be talking about James Oglethorpe, his life, and the details of it. Oglethorpe has got to be like my favorite Georgia character in history. He's such a nice relief from the typically cruel and looked down upon colonizers we think of. We hear a lot about the cruelty of DeSoto and a lot of the colonizers that settled in America who are cruel to the Indians and were just really violent sometimes. Oglethorpe was not that way at all. Oglethorpe was like genuinely a great guy. He spent his entire life in service of Georgia, and anyways, I'll start from. So I'm going to focus on less about his colonization of Georgia, and more so of his personal life. He was born in 1695. He attended Oxford University and went to Corpus Christi College within Oxford. He then dropped out and went to the military academy to fight the Turks, and then returned after and resumed at Oxford. He held an office in Parliament before he went to settle in Georgia. And what I found super interesting was that Oglethorpe was a true activist. He actually advocated for prison reform after seeing one of his friends who was in prison for debt die in prison due to someone who was thrown into his cell with him who had smallpox. In fact, he actually did get a lot of prison reform done, and he was looked up towards by a lot of people in Europe. So then we get to what he's most famous for, which is settling Georgia. Oglethorpe wanted the settling and the charter of Georgia to be a charitable thing. He specifically searched out what's quoted as the worthy poor, hardworking but poor people in Europe that would have a chance. He wanted to give these people a second chance. That was his entire motivation. So he found 114 men, women, and children, and they sailed for Charleston, and stopped in Charleston for a little bit to visit there. After that, they would make their way to the southernmost port in the Carolinas, and then they would move towards what is now modern day Savannah, and so then we know a lot about from our readings in this subunit about Oglethorpe and the colony. But what I found super interesting and was just nice to hear about is that Oglethorpe was very much so against slavery, and he actually opposed slavery till the end. He never let up his position. He never compromised. He was actually he was just outvoted, and he eventually left the charter because, well, we don't know if it's because of this, but eventually he actually, he forgot his place and left his charter, and he was just outvoted. But he was always opposed to slavery and even liquor, in Georgia until the end. Oglethorpe's awesome because he had tons of dedication and he never gave up on his people. He went to Georgia knowing that he couldn't own land, wasn't going to receive a salary, and he was completely dependent on the king and the kingdom to repay. Hopefully, he was hoping to repay his debts and his loans for settling Georgia. He had enemies, and he actually had lots of during his skirmishes with Spain in Georgia. He had allegations brought against him that were not true, that he was being misconductive, and he multiple times actually he was exonerated from claims. He had a very favorable position in Europe. People liked him a lot. Oglethorpe eventually died at the age of 88 in Europe. He went back with his wife, and he lived a life of service in others. So yes, that's James Oglethorpe, my favorite historical figure in Georgia's history.